Well, back here in the U.S., violent crime is on the rise in many cities. Last year, Chicago saw more than 800 homicides, the highest number in 25 years. New York City reached over 480 homicides, the highest number in a decade. And Washington, D.C. finished out the year with more than 220 homicides, the highest number for that city since 2003. Other major cities, including Atlanta and Columbus, followed the same trend. And joining me now to discuss this is Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers, co-host of EWTN's God's Blueprint for a Happy Life. Deacon Harold, great to see you. Welcome back. I know that you spent more than 20 years in law enforcement. What's your take on this rise in violent crime across the country, and what do you think is contributing to it?
Well, I think, Tracy, there's a number of factors that are contributing. One of them, quite frankly, is the coronavirus. We've also seen, for example, within families, an increase in domestic violence, an increase in pornography use, an increase in depression. You know, my wife is a clinical counselor, licensed clinical counselor, and her private practice has been booming since COVID. She has a waiting list. That's one factor. I think another factor, of course, is the lack of confidence in policing right now. There was this effort to so-called defund the police. And so what a number of cities have done, they've reduced allocation to police services and resources. And when that happens, you don't have the number of police officers on the street that you need. The people are going to take advantage of that. And there's a definite lack of confidence. And the other thing is a lot of officers, because of the current climate, have been taking early retirement, and not as many officers are coming back on. I mean, think about it. If you're a young man, boy, I really want to be an officer today with everything that's going on. So I think there's a number of factors contributing to it.
Yeah, and I want to point out, too, that this spike in crime, it's not just happening in areas, where it's already prevalent. Here in D.C., police are investigating a shooting death of a man who was killed on the streets of Georgetown yesterday near popular restaurants and shops. I want to get your thoughts on that. And what do you think that signals that this crime is spilling over into many neighborhoods right now?
Yes, see, again, when you have a lack of police officers, lack of police services, they're not going to be patrolling as heavily. They're not going to be as proactive as they once were. And so people are noticing that. They say, hey, wait a minute, if I do this, it's going to, the police won't show up, but they have other priorities. And so we're seeing an increase in crime, even in so-called good neighborhoods. Again, because we're seeing a lot of people moving into, a lot of gentrification, a lot of people moving into these neighborhoods. And so, the people who commit these crimes, it doesn't matter who lives there. They're gonna take advantage of crimes because of the opportunity.
Yeah, Deacon Harold, what do you think can and should be done to get this under control?
Well, one thing we have to reestablish confidence in our police officers again. One of the things we do is reallocate that money back to police services. We have to make sure that the training is up to par. We have to ensure that to prevent these kinds of incidents that we've seen in the past, that we're making sure we're incorporating bias into the training. So, for example, when you're doing traffic stops, for example, everybody's learning the proper techniques in order to do that. But what you have to do is identify bias. Am I stopping this person because of their color, or did they actually do something? Is there probable cause for me to stop this vehicle? That kind of thing. So you want to make sure that the training is even across the board, that to reestablish that confidence that the police officers are enforcing the laws fairly and unsubjectively throughout the entire spectrum of police services.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that rise in violence against our police officers. Just in the month of January, I think there were at least 24 law enforcement officers that were shot. And yesterday in California, a firefighter was fatally shot while on the scene of a fire. Why do you think our first responders are being targeted?
Well, I think it's eye for an eye, quite frankly, Tracy. I mean, when you look at the response, first there was the defunding the police, and there was the protests and even some rioting that occurred. So the anger is going to be taken out on the person that you think is causing the problem, right? And so in this case, many people, of course, saying, well, it's the police officer's fault that these kinds of things are happening. So they're going to take out that anger and that angst on the police officers themselves, even though the police officer that is hurt may not have anything to do with it. They represent what they believe in their minds is everything negative about policing today.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of time left, but quickly want to ask you, what can be done to bring us together?
Well, one of the things I think we need to do is follow the lead of the Police Research Institute with their training officers to look at the dignity of the human person that's standing in front of them, that the person that they're charged to serve and protect is a human being made in the image and likeness of God. That's just following the principles of the natural moral law. And second, I think we need to increase citizen academies. Have everyday normal citizens go to the citizen academies and learn and see what police officers do every day, and go on ride-alongs so you can begin to appreciate the great gift our police officers are to our cities and to our nation.
Yeah, those ride-alongs are very important. I've done many of those. Deacon Harold, thank you so much. Stick around. We're going to come back to you in just a bit. Thank you again.